Grief brain. Grief brain is a term often used to describe the mental fog and cognitive difficulties that accompany grief and mourning. It can feel like you're distracted, forgetful, and not quite yourself. This is a normal part of the grieving process as your brain is coping with the intense emotional stress of loss. Grief brain might make you think that you've lost your mind, but you really haven't. You may feel disoriented, disconnected, and disorganized. Memory loss, confusion, and an inability to concentrate or focus, these things are all normal inside of grief. You might do things like start sentences and forget what you were going to say next, or forget which day of the week that it is, or even miss important deadlines or emails or tasks that you were responsible for. You may even do like I did and put your dinner plate in the freezer or pantry instead of the microwave. You may lose your keys, your phone, or your glasses several times throughout the day when they're probably right in your hand or just in front of you. Again, you haven't lost your mind. You're grieving. Physiologically, your body has experienced a trauma, and grief can impact wiring of the brain that locks the brain in a stress response state. It's important to be patient and kind to yourself during this time and to recognize that healing takes time. I remember several months after I experienced the losses of my loved ones, my son, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, my cousins, my pastor. I remember my brain became a fog of details flowing in and out, running here and there. My mind drifted from one thing to the next, and it seemed constantly without really connecting the dots on what needed to be accomplished. I felt so out of sorts, and I knew this meant that I needed to slow a lot down in my life. Grief brain had set in, and I was unable to function the way that I had previously done. I remember sitting at my office desk and just staring at my computer screen, as well as wondering why it was now taking me 10 times longer to finish something that I used to be able to do in just minutes or an hour. I struggled with how this would affect my capacity to be known for doing the things that I had been so proud of creating, building, and operationalizing. What would it really mean if I was no longer able to occupy that identity? That's a whole nother conversation. But it was truly an internal battle between myself and myself. And after months of fighting the war, I finally decided to wave the flag. It was important for me to recognize and acknowledge my grief brain. I wasn't the same person that I was before the losses. And in order to survive, I had to shift my focus on what came natural to me instead of trying to force myself to fit into a box or a square peg. I asked myself things like, what could I outsource and offload to my team and to others, or even shift from doing? In simpler terms, I asked myself, what could I essentially do with my eyes closed? That question and answer, as well as the willingness to act on the change, essentially saved me from spiraling down a path of who knows where. Now, as I look back, I recognize that grief brain literally helped me in my healing and grief journey. It forced me to pause and to slow down. It forced me to stop and readjust my life and lifestyle. If you're struggling with grief brain, here are a few suggestions that might help you. First of all, remember self-care. Make sure that you're eating well and sleeping enough and engaging in activities that bring you joy. Talk to others, share your feelings with trusted friends and family, and find a therapist who can provide comfort and help you process your grief. Take breaks. It's okay to take time off from work or other responsibilities to rest and recover. Make lists and reminders and set alarms, and then ask yourself, what can I do with my eyes closed, and what can I offload? Do whatever you need to do for you. And although grief brain tends to be temporary, know that it can sometimes last longer than you think. And despite our society not talking enough about grief brain, know that it's a normal response to a stressful situation, and it's not a flaw in you. One thing that my therapist helped me to understand and to do more of was to give myself grace and to practice asking, how have I shown myself grace today? Everyone experiences with grief is so unique. So find what works best for you and give yourself permission to grieve and heal at your own pace. And while I'm not a licensed therapist, if you feel comfortable, I'm here to listen and offer any support that I can. My name is Michonne Landry, and this is my healing and grief journey.